Hi, welcome back. We're still speaking about Chapter 7 of Healing America's Narratives, the chapter that deals with the post-9/11 wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And specifically, today we're just going to follow up with what happened in the White House and the Pentagon immediately following the September 11th attacks. And as we mentioned, National Coordinator for Security and Counterterrorism, Richard Clarke, was surprised that on September 12th, 2001, talk in the White House and the Pentagon had already begun to focus on Iraq, even though al-Qaeda was seen as the perpetrator of the attacks. Paul Wolfowitz, who was the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and Donald Rumsfeld, who was the Secretary of Defense, were both part of an organization known as the Project for the New American Century. And they were signatories to a letter to President Bill Clinton in January of 1998 that asked him, quote, to enunciate a new strategy that should aim above all at the removal of Saddam Hussein's regime from power. And they were really clear, again, quote, that removing Saddam Hussein's regime from power needs to become the aim of American foreign policy. So again, that was a letter sent to President Bill Clinton from the Project for the New American Century. Later, in September 2000, the PNAC, as it was known, issued a 90-page report entitled Rebuilding America's Defenses, Strategy, Forces, and Resources for a New Century. Part 5 of the report was entitled Creating Tomorrow's Dominant Force, which stressed the importance of really getting America's military and defenses up to speed, and something that was called a revolution in military affairs that included just high speed, fewer boots on the ground ways to use the military that would limit our casualties and effect much more damage on an enemy. That's a gross oversimplification of it. But in this part 5 of this report from the Project for the New American Century, the people who wanted American foreign policy to include the removal of Saddam Hussein from power was this sentence. Further, the process of transformation, even if it brings revolutionary change, is likely to be a long one, absent some catastrophic event like a new Pearl Harbor. Again, this was published in September of 2000. Effectively, right, and this is my conclusion, not just my conclusion, obviously, effectively, the 9/11 attacks gave the Project for the New American Century proponents their catastrophic event, like a new Pearl Harbor. So we'll get to see, why the focus on Iraq continued to be important in the Bush White House, even though they did first, beginning in October 2001, which we'll get to that, go into Afghanistan looking for Osama bin Laden and the perpetrators of the attacks. So we'll pick up with this movement into Afghanistan and then later on return to Iraq in our next episode. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.